All right, guys, welcome to the podcast here at All Sports Best. I'm Trey Gonzalez. Today we have a very special guest on, John Zumbrun of the Cavemen basketball team. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing good. A little nervous, but
Yeah? Okay.
it's my first podcast.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Well, if for those of you that don't know, Coach actually hosts all of the pep rallies here at Carlsbad High School for the most part. So, that's actually interesting that you're nervous for that.
I'm not nervous about talking. I'm nervous. I always see the best movies and that when you do your podcast.
Sure.
That's what I'm a little nervous about. Is
Today's an
answering some of the
interrogation.
questions.
No, I'm just kidding.
100%.
Okay, so so the first question I have for you is it stems off of a video we did earlier in the year. It was Kieran Orgain and Jacob Chavarria, and they talked about the fact that they said 35 threes a game. Tell me about 35 threes a game, as a coach, putting that out there for your team.
35 threes a game is a little bit of a joke, but we went and saw – last year we were in the Cleveland tournament.
Okay.
And Sandia was playing, and Coach Brown is the coach. And I saw him at the state tournament, and he was starting his 8th grade son. He had 2 8th graders starting. And I asked the son, I said, how many shots do you get up a day? Because I was trying to get into our kid's head that what we do is the minimum in practice.
Okay.
Absolute minimum. 1st, 7th, summer, open gym, and we do a lot. And he told me he gets between 600-700 a day shots.
Really?
I said,
Okay.
really? I said, when do you have time to do it? He goes, lunch, after game, school. Now, his dad was a coach, so he's got a key. He's got access to the gun all the time. And so this kid was an 8th grader, and they were playing against Volcano Vista, who happens to be his brother. They've won 3 times. The coaches, their brothers. Volcano Vista's won 3 times the last 3 years in a row, and they have 1 loss in the state of New Mexico the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And so we watched the first half of that game, and Coach Brown before the game told me, he goes, our goal is to get 35 threes up at 35%. And so I told Micah Calderon that, and he was just in shock. There's no way. So he counted, and it was a 1-point game at half, and they got about 18 up.
Wow.
And now the point was the work that they were putting into it to get that done. And so we knew we had to come up with something different. Last year was the first year I hadn't gone to the state tournament in 25 years of coaching in the state of New Mexico. Last year was the first year I didn't make it in as an assistant or a head coach. And so we kind of knew we were small. We had a couple, our big men were going to kind of be pick and pop type kids. And so we really wanted to spread the floor and shoot the ball. And so with the technology that Huddle gives you now, with the analytics that go on, if we effectively can shoot 50%, and effectively means you get, for 2 points, you get 100%. If you're 1 for 1 on layups, you shoot 100%. But if you 1 for 1 on threes, it's 150%.
Right.
Right? Because if you shoot 2 of 6 threes, it's the same as shooting 3 of 6 twos. So if you look at our analytics over the 4 years, our challenge twos are literally below 25%. And that's not breakaway layups or dunks or things like that, but mid-range and the lowest kid we have in threes is at 25%.
Okay.
And so if you give 150, and it's right below 40%. We've always said that if we can shoot 50% for us effectively, we're going to win 90+% of our games.
Okay.
And so that was kind of our philosophy. Could we shoot 50% effectively and cut out the challenge twos? And I know it's kind of like to people in basketball, but that's where the way the pros have gone to.
Oh, yeah.
Is
Lots of threes.
There's no mid-range game anymore because the percentages are just the same by shooting a 3 and a challenge mid-range 2. And so that was really our philosophy behind it. Has it worked? The first, before Christmas, we were actually shooting 35% from 3. We were right on there.
Okay.
And after Christmas, we dropped off.
Okay.
And we're probably 28, 29% since after Christmas, which, again, though, effectively, it's still a higher percentage than our challenge twos are. And I'll give you an example. Kieran Orgain is shooting exactly 33% from 3
Okay.
for the season.
Yeah.
So he's shooting, and he has shot a ton of them.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
he has shot well over 100 threes, and Zenas Huerta's like at 35, 36%. And so those guys are shooting effectively 50. Now Shane Sullivan, three-wise, is probably around 28%, but from twos he's shooting the 60%.
He's insane.
His off the charts. And so every player's different, but going into the season, we were talking 35 threes at 35%. It was more of a joke between me and Calderon, but the point was we wanted kids putting the extra work in.
Sure.
And that was the key to it. Like, for us to shoot that many threes, we have to get 300, 400, 500 up a day. And the kids like Zenas Huerta, he'll be here at 6 in the morning. Him and Karen stay an hour every day after school. And a lot of those guys like that have really, that their percentage are way up, have really put the work in.
Yeah.
And that was
Okay.
kind of more the key to it. It wasn't just that we were just trying to jack up threes. We're trying to get good shots and effectively shoot 50%. Because if we shoot 50% from the field, we're going to win 90% of those games.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
All right.
I hope that makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah, no, yeah, I get you. Kind of just stemming off of that offensive strategy that you have, I noticed that in some of the big games we've seen Kieran and Jacob kind of almost disappear in terms of like points, and then they just turn into assists and they turn into defensive special. Like, do you talk to them and say, hey, right now we're going to Shane, or, is that kind of, or is it just like, hey, whatever's working, we keep up with that?
We try to find the right matchups.
Okay.
Jacob's our point guard, and I tell Jacob all the time that I need him to lead us in assists. And we, again, with the advances in huddle and we've analytics-wise, we've really kind of looked at that more this year than any year. When Jacob's on the court, even the games he doesn't score, his plus minus or his VPS, which is kind of like your positives minus your negatives, are way up when he's passing the basketball, because the offense just runs smoother.
Right.
What we really don't want is just one pass and shot. So if Shane has the matchup inside, we'll try to get it to him. But a lot of times Shane steps out against bigger players and is able to take them off the dribble and score inside. Kieran has been more of a three-point threat, and Kieran is kind of an odd guy because he goes left better than he goes right. If you ever watch him, he's always going left. He has a tremendous left hand for being a right-handed shooter.
Sure.
And so he's a guy that we can post up if we have to, or we ask him to do a lot of penetration. And
I haven't seen him post up, Coach.
well, last game actually, we call it Mouse in the House.
Okay.
And against Roswell, he had a few post up, but he's a guy that we can play inside or out if we have to.
Sure.
But we're trying to spread the floor. One of the big reasons behind us spreading the floor is because we have Brandon Sullivan. He's not really a true five. He's 6'1", Mario De Leon, 6'1", 6'2"-ish, but they're really not post-up guys. I mean, you're not going to go against Hobbs with the 7-footer
Right.
or 6'6" and just go post those guys up. It's tough to get the ball inside, and teams are coached. If you can, I tell our team all the time, if you can get it inside, the other team's not very well coached. You're just not going to be able to dribble and not have help side. And so we're going to be able to kick out, but because we do have small fives and that can shoot the ball, Brandon Sullivan, after Christmas, actually, right before district started, he had the highest three-point shooting percentage from Christmas to district.
Okay.
And he really struggled before Christmas, but then his shot really came on between Christmas and district. I think he was shooting like 38%.
Sure.
And so those guys really help spread the floor. And if you look at the college game, the NBA game, those fives, that's what they're looking for, guys that can really spread the floor, because then it opens up the drives for the Shane Sullivans or the Jacob Chavarias or the Kieran Orgains.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. And just a disclaimer, I don't mean that they disappear like they're not, being efficient. They just don't score points. They're just assists, rebounds, and all of that stuff. So just for those of you listening.
Well, they, we want them to score, but those other teams are putting their best players on them
100%.
too. So it's it's a cat and mouse game a lot. And
Sure.
So believe me, if one of those guys go out and get 25 against Hobbs Friday night, I'm gonna be the happiest.
Absolutely,
we'll be the happiest guy there. So
that'll be exciting to watch. All right, so tell me about your discipline. Like, how does discipline play a role in your program?
Well, I mean, it just starts with getting there on time. If you're every day we start school at 8:45, but our practice starts about 8:10. And so if you're not on the court at 8:10, there's either some running or the boards come out, and usually it's quick and sweet. And they just, as long as you text, that's one of the big things in my mind is that you communicate. If you're a no call, no show, then it's going to a different level.
Okay.
But that's where it all starts. On the line at 8:10. We want you working hard. We want you being a good teammate. And so, these guys work hard. Like I said, they put a lot of time in. Things have really changed since my day.
Yeah.
My day and back in the early 80s and so forth when I played and went to school. These guys put a ton of time in. But for me, it starts with communication and showing up on time. If a kid can be a coach, I have a dental appointment, we're good. If coach, I'm running late, then, it's understandable. It's going to be a much quicker, give me 2 up and overs and we're ready to go. Mm-hmm. So, but, that's where it all starts with me is showing up on time and communications.
Yeah. I remember whenever I was in high school, there was a kid that was late every day, and the punishment was running the loop. That 5 mile, up C hill and all of that. And he would do it every single day. It was insane. But so that was our punishment. But now, it's kind of nice. You just do some boards or whatever.
You're kind of in between generations, I would say, between mine and this new one.
Sure.
I don't know if we can send a kid on the loop anymore.
It's pretty
dangerous.
dangerous.
If somebody gets hit by a car or they get hurt, I don't know if we have jobs anymore. So I don't know if the old Forney ways or the old, the old school ways are just not feasible anymore. So.
Right. So referees obviously play a huge role in sometimes the outcomes of the game. I've seen it happen a couple of times where we're scratching our head like, how did that call happen? Whatever. How do you establish relationships with the referees throughout the season, maybe during the game? Like, what is your strategy there?
I've coached for a long time in the state of New Mexico, 26 years, and I know most everybody. And so I have a good relationship with most people. I get fired up with the best of them, but you don't see Coach Zumbrun get a lot of technicals. I think, and I have a rule, and it includes referees, but it also includes players. We have a rule in our program: when the game is over, it's over. And so I'm not a coach that goes into the locker room after a game and starts yelling and ripping kids and blaming. We're a team. I'm a part of the team, and I get out coached just like we get outplayed. That's what a team is. And I treat the referees the same. Those guys are doing the best they can. I've known them for a lot of years. They don't care who wins or loses. Do they make calls that affect games? Absolutely. But I tell our kids all the time, they didn't miss free throws. They don't miss layups. They don't turn the ball over. 1 or 2 calls a lot of times turns a game, but I would take the 5, 6, 7 plays that we can control, and that usually, if we play to our capabilities, referees usually are usually not involved at that level. It's when you're not playing well is when you really see Coach Zumbrun getting on referees. And I've told referees that. I've been invited to go talk at meetings or referee clinics or they have their weekly meetings, and I tell them, guys, we usually don't get mad unless our team's not playing to what we think we are. It's when we're not playing to our capabilities. And so I think that's helped me out a lot with referees.
Okay.
And like I said, we see them in the summers. We see them in all over the place. And so I think you just have to create a relationship with them. I tell these kids all the time, we're going to play hard and shake a man's hand after the game, win or lose. And same thing with the referees. They're human. Are they going to make some calls you don't like? Absolutely. But I can promise you the other coach is usually yelling just as much, or if not more than I am. Yeah. And so it's not, I really like how we do it in basketball. We get referees from out of town. We don't get the Carlsbad crew for varsity games, which would make it hard because you have to see those people out on the street.
Right.
And so we get guys coming from out of town that really have no care. They're working with kids, and so like I said, I'm not a guy that gets a ton of technicals. I think I've gotten 2 in 25 years, and I got 1 this year.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I got 1 in the Artesia tournament with like 9 seconds left to go in the game, and
Walk me through that. Because I was going to ask you, like, what is a tech for you? Like, what warrants it?
I pulled the ref to the side and I said, look, and we had Hobbs down 5 about 5 minutes ago in the fourth quarter, and they threw a 1-3-1 defense on us, kind of shook us up a little bit, and they kind of ran away with it at the end. But I pulled the ref to the side that I've known for years, and I just asked him if he could do me a professional courtesy. I didn't do it in front of people. I didn't, go crazy. I just asked him to do a professional courtesy and not take any more of my games. And,
wow.
And he teed me up, and I probably deserved it. I mean, that's kind of a roundabout way of saying that, hey, you're screwing us. But
it was at this volume level?
It was maybe even lower than this.
Wow.
And I've probably deserved a lot of technicals in my lifetime, but I've gotten 2 while I've been in Carlsbad.
Okay.
And both of them were with about less than 10 seconds left in the game in that type of situation. Mm-hmm. And but I haven't had them since. And so I think for me personally, just it's been good. It was a good thing. So
yeah. Are you still in good terms with that guy?
Yeah, I check his hand. I don't have any problems with him.
Yeah.
I just think sometimes, when I have a problem with the official, it's not what he calls, but sometimes when your kids see him, they're like, oh my goodness, we got this guy. And so when it's already in their head, that's when you have to kind of take measures. We do have a blackball system in the state of New Mexico. I can't blackball. I don't usually do it, but if I was going to do it, it would be because our kids see a guy and they're like, oh my gosh, they already. You can see an official and already be defeated.
So how does that work? Like you say, this person, we don't want him to do our games or her to do our games?
At the beginning of the year, they sent out a form, and you can blackball, I think, up to 10% of the officials if you really wanted to.
And then it's automatic?
It's automatic. You can't get them in here.
I did not know that.
I'm not going to say it's 100% automatic, but I've never got anybody I've ever blackballed. I've only blackballed 2 in my entire career. I'm not going to name names. But,
sure.
But, it's not something you want to go to. Like I said, our philosophy is let's play hard. Let's shake a man's hand. On the other team, let's shake the official's hand after the game, because I think that's what a grown man should do. Just play hard as you can. My father had 2 rules growing up. When you play hard, and you work hard. Mm-hmm. And with that being said, I just don't. I'm not going to blame officials for losses. I think there's enough things that you can work on in the middle of the games.
Yeah.
But like I said, the one thing that does, is when your kids see an official and they go, "Oh my gosh,"
Right.
And then they already kind of have a defeatist attitude, like they're not getting a fair shake. So
yeah,
that's when you have to take some measures.
Sure. Do you want to tell us what their name rhymes with? No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. I'm joking. All right. So I actually had a question from just fielding questions out in the community or whatever. So there was a game, and I've wanted to ask you this, but Lovington, we ended up losing to Lovington in Lovington, and their best player went berserk, right? I think he had 26 points, something like that.
27, 17 or something.
Yeah, he had 4 fouls at the beginning of the fourth quarter. They played him the whole time. Did you have any game plans to go at him and get him to foul out or anything like that?
I talked about it, but he went to a zone. So he protected him kind of in a matchup zone. So we weren't really able to penetrate like we wanted to. And, even more than that, what he did is he did a really good job, Coach. And that was the first time I lost to Lovington in a long time.
Well, that player was really good, too.
And, Cale Covington's his name.
Stud.
And Coach, the Lovington coach, did a great job, and he moved him around. We held him to 10 here. And and he kind of put him at the high post, and we were able to really key on him. There, he went to more of a motion offense, and he moved him. He moved him low, he moved him high, he moved him outside. He just did a good job of just moving him around. And like I said, that we're a team. Does Coach Zumbrun get out coached? Absolutely. You can go to the NBA, and those guys get out coached. You go to college. Even the best of the best, you're going against other guys that have done it for 25, 30 years. Mm-hmm. Casey Pack is the coach at Lovington. He's coached at Clovis. He's got 25 to 30 years experience.
Yeah.
Did a great job moving them around. Mm-hmm. That was a 1-point game in the fourth quarter, and we gave up about 7 free throws in about 10 seconds. It went from 1 to 8.
Yeah.
And so we were just battling from behind the whole game, and but Coach Zumbrun got out coached that game. Not you know that's part of the game. It happens in every sport. The guys come in with a game plan. We got to be able to adjust. We didn't adjust to it, fast enough.
Sure.
And so credit to them. Like I said, we're going to play hard. We're going to prepare hard. Going into those games, we watch 3 to 5 videos. We have every play charted. Coach Calderon does an incredible job. He gets on and searches for games on the internet.
Sure.
And we watch 3 to 5 videos. We know every inbounds that they're going to run. We go through it with the kids. We know what's going to happen. But what we tell the kids is, if that coach is smart, he's going to run something we've never seen before because
he knows everybody has video. Yeah,
we
true.
beat him 19 here or whatever it was. So he made an adjustment that we hadn't seen, and we weren't able to adjust fast enough. And it was a competitive game, but man, that kid's tough, man.
Yeah,
he's probably the best player in the Southeast.
He could be, yeah.
I mean, if in my opinion, he's probably he may be my first pick if we had to pick out of the Southeast type schools
for All-Stars. Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, on the flip side, for the Cavemen, I haven't seen a lot of our players foul out very much. There's a new system for fouls in state of New Mexico. I wanted to talk about that as well. But tell me about how you rotate in players to make sure that they, number one, stay fresh, and number two, stay level-headed and not in foul trouble.
Believe it or not, we when we condition, we started. This happened at my high school back in the 80s. But 6 weeks before the season starts, we stay after school and we condition every day.
Okay.
And I basically tell them, and the kids don't. I tell them, but I don't think kids. I mean, you're a teacher to coach. I don't know how much they really believe me, but we go run 2-mile runs.
Okay.
And I tell them, if you're not under 50, if you're 15 minutes, you're probably about a 4-minute player a game. And we got kids that are down below 12. They can run under a 6-minute mile. Zenas Huerta's a beast. He's a cross-country runner.
Okay.
And he can run, a 5-15 mile and basically get 11-minute 2-mile, Kiara Gain
That's wild.
can is right behind him. And so we know those kids can go.
They can stay in the game.
Can stay in the game. If a kid's running a 15-minute, or an 8-9-minute mile, we know he's probably 3-4 minutes before he really tired to the point we got to get him out. So we start off with that, and then we look at a lot of analytics. Like you're subbing VPS, which is one of the main analytics they use in the NBA and the college game today. I'd have to go on there, but there's a formula. It's basically your positives divided by your negatives. If you get a 1, that's an average for the game or for the season. And so, man, if you're above a 1, you need to be in the game.
Yeah.
If you're below a 1, Coach Enlow was actually one of the guys that really got me onto VPS. We look at your plus minus when you're in the game, or is a team a plus 10? Are you a minus 6? All these stats.
It's crazy how you can find that now.
Huddle is incredible. It has every play you can just click on and get the video. Every single highlight, every single miss,
That's wild.
Every single turnover. Huddle, you can go. It gives you the actual the 5 that are on the court, the plus minus, all the stats, the subs, what groups are doing well, the analytics of basketball. And me being an older guy, I never used them, and I think Coach Enlow's kind of, pushed me onto it a little bit. Woody has really talked about the analytics they use in football, how they can really know if they're playing a team, they run this on third down 70% of the time, they pass or they run.
Wow.
And so I'm just kind of learning. I'm the old guy that didn't even use a computer when he went to college.
Right.
I had a typewriter. I had a word processor that was like that was
Really?
a typewriter that I got a master's degree.
It was a little more advanced than a typewriter?
You could correct your mistakes on a word processor. So I got a master's degree without using a computer. So when you guys, all this fancy equipment, it is a little intimidating.
We have right here.
I'm a little nervous, But
Sure.
So I'm kind of learning the analytics of the game, and I can see where the game has gone to, And they complain in the NBA, it's a boring product. They're shooting too many threes. But I can really see through the analytics why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah. In Hobbs, We got a technical foul towards the end of the game. This one was, to me, mind-boggling a little bit because it was on Mario De Leon. He got called for 2 charges, and then he got called for a flopping technical, which to me it feels like either you call a flop or you call a charge, and but it ended up happening that way. How instrumental has he been, though, with charges this year? I've seen him take at least 1 a game. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, it's a skill set. It's number one, you can't be scared to get hit. And I've been in the boys program 5 years. Andrew Miller took a charge a game. Garen Gossett took a charge a game. Sam G took some charges. And now it's Mario De Leon.
They pass it on.
And in our zone, we funnel everything to the 5 position. We funnel everything. And so I got to have a 5 that can either challenge shots, which maybe like a Tylen Gonzalez at 6'7", was tough to shoot over. It'd be nice if we could grow a couple more boat rights around here and have or you got to have a guy that can clog that lane and take a charge. You have to really be successful.
Yeah.
And Mario's taking on that role, and I hate the flopping, the new rule. I just personally biased. I think the flopping rule is for a guy that's pretending to really deceive the official, like flying out of bounds.
Right.
I don't think taking a charge should be a flop. You know, I mean, even if I went back to that play, I think they called 2 charges that were exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
It wasn't like he just fell down and nothing happened. He got hit and he fell down, and it was the second. Now, you got to have 2 flops to get a technical.
Yeah.
And we've kind of I had to tell Mario, I said, Mario, the last 2 minutes of the game, we probably don't even need to take a charge. And especially if we have a flop, because it's really a chance. Because you're just putting a lot of onus on officials, and it's just a tough call, you know, especially with a minute left in the ball game, and you're in a tie ball game, and they call a flop. And so, but again, I'm not going to blame officials. We had plenty of mistakes that we, early in that game, especially. But now Mario's been, he's earned playing time, because defensively he really has closed down that lane, and so credit to him.
He's been aggressive.
Sophomore. Got high hopes for him in the future. He's really got a ton of skill. Sometimes as a sophomore, we don't get him the ball enough, but we really, his skill level, I think you're going to be able to see him to do some things in the future, really be a big benefit to the Cavemen program.
Yeah. A big step up this year has been, we talked about him briefly, but Shane Sullivan. Shane Sullivan's been playing really well. One of the things that sticks out to me beyond him being able to drive to the basket and be fearless is being efficient from the free throw line. He's been incredible. So when you see him get fouled, you're like, all right, cool. Like, we're in pretty good hands. Tell me about Shane Sullivan this year.
Man, Shane Sullivan, best kid ever. 4.0 student. Never going to have a bad word to say about anybody. And he's just a great kid. And comes from a long line of Sullivans. There's been a lot of Sullivans that played basketball, and I don't mean to step on anybody's toes, but Shane's the best of all of them. There's no doubt about it. He's got the athleticism, he's got the size, and he's got the skill level. His analytics are off the charts. His VPS is way above 1. His plus minus, his highest on the team, is like 300, plus 300 when he's in the game, and his shooting percentage is like 62% for the season effectively, which is really just incredible. I think the only guy that was close might have been Tylen, might have been right at 60, but Tylen shot all 1 foot. Well, he shot all 1-footers.
Okay,
dunks. Shane's doing a lot more.
Doing more, yeah.
He leads us in rebounds. He's just an all-around guy. He started as a sophomore and led us in rebounding as a sophomore, and so he's just been really. His VPS is the highest on the team because just of everything he brings. He brings block shots. He took a big charge for us. He's taken a couple big charges in big moments. He gets steals. He's just an all-around guy, you know, and he's unassuming. It's really kind of incredible. I'll look at the book after the game, and I said, man, Shane had 19. I don't even remember. Just because he just plays hard. We really don't run many plays for him. he just plays.
You know? He scores a quiet high point.
And he'll do it shooting 62%. He was shooting 85%, and he missed 4 free throws against Roswell. But what type of kid he was shooting 85% for the season from the free throw line, highest by far that I've had in the 5 years. And he went 4 of 8 against Roswell, and he went and apologized to the team. And I was like, Shane,
wow.
That's not necessary. That's not, you know, you do too much. We don't blame one person.
Yep.
Like I said, when the game's over with me, it's over. We don't blame, we don't point fingers. We try to say, hey, we got to get better tomorrow. But that's what type of kid he is.
Yeah.
You know, he wanted to take some accountability. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, the rest of the team shooting 50%. You know, you shot 50. That's
amazing.
You know, and so best kid ever. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better kid to be on your team and to coach.
Yeah. All right. So before we get into my favorite thing, which is naming best of or, you know, top lists, I wanted to ask you one question. It's, what is the ultimate goal this year for the Cavemen?
Well, we're trying to get into the state tournament. And once we get there, the ultimate goal we said was to walk down the ramp at the pit.
Okay.
And, you know, it's tough. I found this out when I was in Hobbs. We used to talk about getting to the pit. And the kids didn't know what we were talking about. And I'm not 100% sure these kids know what we're talking about. But the pit is where UNM plays.
Yeah.
And there's a ramp. And it's really one of the most incredible feelings being a basketball coach. But there's a ramp at the pit that literally goes down about 50 yards, 40 yards.
Yeah, it's long.
And it is steep. If you're in a wheelchair, you're done.
You're not riding a skateboard down there either.
And you can look this up on YouTube, but there's a challenge to throw a basketball up there.
Yeah, I've seen that. The college teams that come to play them do it every time.
So there's a challenge, and it's a very difficult thing to do because of the length. And so if you're in a wheelchair, you're done. Mm-hmm. But it's one of the best feelings ever coming out. And I've had the opportunity to do it, but man, it would really, really, really bless us and bless me if I could see these kids.
That'd be great.
And being from a small town, and when I was in Hobbs, we had the same thing. They didn't know what we were talking about. And so really to walk out into a 17,000 person arena is really just, you know, would be my goal for these kids. And we tell them all the time that we want to get to the pit.
Yeah.
And this team's right there. We're close. You know, Hobbs is ranked second in the state. We've had them twice, you know, either tied or had the lead in the fourth quarter. Roswell's ranked 5th in the state. We're up 9 with 4 minutes left to go in the third the other night against them. We just kind of fell apart, you know. So we know we're right there with some of the top teams. Volcano Vista's on another level. They're
solid,
really, They're really on another level. But I think everybody else, I think it's a realistic goal for us, and that's what we're trying to do.
Okay. All right. So, into the lists. Top 5 best. You coached girls basketball before coaching men's basketball.
12 years.
Boys, yeah. So, give me your 5 best. Your starting 5 for girls that you coached. Starting 5 for boys that you've coached.
Boys is probably a little easier because I've only been there 5 years.
Yeah.
I think with the boys team, you got to start with Damian Perez.
Okay.
Damian Perez, 1,000-point scorer, MVP of the All-Star game. I mean, put on a show when he was out there with dunks and three-point shooters. Went to Hobbs, hit 9 threes in Tasker Arena, and all-time record. And that team held that particular game. We held Hobbs to 29 points, I think, which is an all-time low for them in the arena. And so I would start with Damian. I think Andrew Miller would be number 2.
Okay.
Point guard, very intelligent, coach on the floor, hard worker, brought the right attitude every day. It was really that year. We were in the quarterfinals, and a JV kid got COVID, and we weren't allowed to play. And that team had a shot. It really did.
That's right. I remember that.
And Andrew was the point guard, and he was the consummate leader. After that, I I think I'd have to go with Kieran and Shane. You know, just Shane would be he's the perfect 4 at 6'4", just athletic, just the glue guy, the guy that's going to do the dirty work. Kieran really at a 2-guard, athletic, you know, guy play above the rim, can shoot the 3. Gosh, man, it's tough. The 5th one, I would say I'd probably have to go with Tylen, being 6'7", and, you know, getting you a lot of buckets inside. You know, honorable mentions, Aiden Parent, Devin McWright put a ton of pressure.
Yeah, he was a stud.
Jacob Chavarria, you know, really a consummate, I mean, as good a ball handler as we've had in 5 years. Can really handle that ball. You don't see anybody really pressure Jacob. So there's a lot of honorable mentions, but I think those 5 guys would probably be what I went with the boys.
Okay.
So sorry guys if I missed anybody.
Yeah. Give us your starting 5 girls.
Man, girls is tough. You know, you put this on Facebook, and I commented on the boys all time. I think both right. But I thought about the girls because, man, we've had some great girls. Probably, if I really had to do it, I'd have a top 10. But I think if you went 5, you got to start with Taylor Edmondson.
Give us your starting 5 and your 5 on the bench.
Okay, I'll try if I can say. You know, I'm getting old, Trey. I'm getting Alzheimer's, but I think you got to start with Taylor Edmondson.
Okay.
Taylor Edmondson was the absolute best female athlete, all-around athlete I've coached. Taylor could catch a football like a man 50 yards over the shoulder like nothing. Mm-hmm. Taylor threw a ball harder than any female ever seen. Now, we played dodgeball against the boys in PE, against the athletes, and she was scary.
Awesome.
I honestly believe Taylor's the one girl. I think she could have pitched an inning for the Cavemen. I truly 100% that's how
a big
hard
statement.
she threw.
Yeah.
She threw hard. But Taylor went to Washington State 4 years. She was like a career 6th, 7th man, probably played about 18 to 20 minutes a game and had a nice career at Washington State. Yeah. But Taylor was probably the best all-around female athlete I coached. I coached a girl, Adrienne Ross-Hobbs, that was the best basketball player by far. She played in WNBA, was the Mountain West Conference Player of the Year, junior and senior year at TCU.
Okay.
And she was on another world. I think after Taylor, you have to go look at Carson Boswell.
Okay.
Boswell, best shooter I've ever coached. Really
she has
put
one
in
up
the
here,
time.
right?
Gatorade Player of the Year.
That's right.
She ended up with 2,496 points. You know, Abby just got her 1,000th. Carson had 2,496, was 5th all time. Now, Carson, by far, was the best shooter. She was unbelievable at the free throw line. We talk about Shane. Carson, I think, had like her last 75 free throws of her career. I think she made 72 of them.
Wow.
It was in the 90%. Was a three-point shooter, and she really was able to, just get out, fast break. Carson had better teams than Taylor. She didn't have to do as much.
Right.
So she was able to really focus on offense. But by far the hardest worker and the best shooter was Carson Boswell. She'd be number 2.
You said 5th overall all time in New Mexico?
In New Mexico.
Okay.
So that was, one of the big
huge
Gatorade Players of the Years because she just was able to. She had 5 years. She started as an 8th grader, and 5 years. In her freshman year, she actually was her high game at 38 versus El Dorado. At El Dorado, she had a 38-point game as a freshman.
That's crazy.
So she really had some big time games. Mm-hmm. After that, I mean, we could probably put 10 girls in there and we don't drop off. But I'd go with Mariel Gomez, number 3, all-time leader in assists and steals in the program. Most unselfish player I'd ever been around. Mariel wouldn't score a point and dominate the game. She would lead the team in rebounds, steals, assists, and had no desire to score. If she scored, it was great. I think it was some of the soccer background because she was a defender in soccer. She was a stud soccer player.
Yeah.
Best family ever. Really no better kid that I've ever coached.
She drove me nuts because she didn't score.
Yeah.
Because I knew she could, and it was like, dang, score.
We wanted her
to.
But she was so competitive.
Yeah.
Like if we put her in practice 3-on-3, her team was winning. Because it didn't matter, because she would score when she had to. Mm-hmm. And so she was just so unselfish and such a good kid and such a glue player that you just couldn't. She was just,
she was really good.
Just was just the consummate team player.
Yeah.
And so, but she ended her career, and she had offers. She had people that wanted her. I called her, and she was like, "Coach, I'm going to UNM," and I said, "Okay, I'll tell them you're not." But she had some offers, and but all-time leading steals and assists, and she led our team her junior and senior year in rebounds. So I think she would be that glue kid.
Okay.
After that, gosh, man, we have one more Division I kid. I'm gonna throw this girl out, Kalia Montoya.
Yeah.
Kalia's playing at Jackson State this year. She went to JUCO, she went to Division II, and now she's at Division I Jackson State.
I didn't realize that.
So she's
That's awesome.
another Division I player out of Carlsbad, New Mexico. And it's her last year. Proud of the girl. No better player on the block. Kalia was strong. You know, if she posted you out down low. But the thing about Kalia was she was competitive. She had some battles against Hobbs. Hobbs had great teams. We had great teams. But if you needed a rebound, Kalia was going to get it.
Sure.
If you needed a bucket, she was going to get it. She just was a beast inside.
Yeah.
And then the fourth one, you know, I coached her early in her career, and Enlo had her late, but I probably have to go with Allie Myers. Allie Myers is playing JUCO right now. She set some records rebounding. I don't know if you've seen on Facebook, but
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
She's got like over 30 Division I offers right now. I called her the other day.
That's exciting.
She said she had like 30 Division I offers from Penn State to Loyola Marymount to all over the country. And so you kind of have to go with your D1s first. You know,
Yeah.
there's
Oh,
a
yeah,
reason
no, for
why
sure.
they kept playing and going D1s.
wild.
But I would say that would be
That's your starting
pretty
five.
stinking good five.
It would.
You know, I think you come off the bench. It's a second five. Gosh, man, it's tough. But I think Kim Best played 4 years
Okay.
of collegiate ball.
Yeah.
Kim Best was a kid at Alta Vista, and they said, "Coach, you got this girl about 6'1" over there." And I went and I saw her on the track. I said, "Hey, you're coming to open gym." And I think she had maybe 4 points her 8th grade year. Her first game for us, she scored 18. And by her sophomore year, she was starting. And
Yeah.
she played 4 years of college ball. Got really proud of that girl. Graduated college and lives in Nevada, Las Vegas now. And Las Vegas, Nevada, I should say. And, you know, this one is gonna maybe a little surprising to some, be a smile to you, but I'm going to tell you, your sister, Rylan Gonzalez, was a beast. Rylan wasn't the greatest athlete. She was always hurt, even today. I know she's got knee problems, but man, leader, and really, again, was a consummate teammate. Was a leader and just wanted to win, did what it took to win. We would play I remember against El Dorado here, she had 22 points. As a coach, I remembered all these things.
Yeah.
But she was another kid that could score 4 or 6 points and dominate a game. But the first time I went to the semifinals, I don't know if you know this or not, but Riley Gonzalez hit 8 free throws in a row to finish the game.
Yeah,
And, and I told him that Coach Casals, who is the Hobbs coach, was my mentor because I coached 7 years with him, told Coach Maya, the Mayfield coach, who just got his 600th win. These guys are the legends of coaching. Violet Gonzalez girl, she's at the end of the game. But
Wow.
But Rylan could handle the ball. She could rebound. She could score, and she was a constant team player. I think she'd be in my top 10. I think she'd be my backup 4. After that, I think you got to look at a Shaylee McAllister. Shaylee McAllister played 4 years of ball. She went to NEO. I think it was NEO. Then she played some Division II in Oklahoma. And great story about her was there was a coach, a college coach, that called me up. He said, "Why didn't you tell me you had a player?" Because NEO went to like the quarters, the semis. They made a heck of a run with her as a starting 4-man. And I said, "I did. You don't listen to me. You know, you just didn't listen. You know." But hard player, competitive girl, would really, you know, get in there and rebound and so forth like that. Man, the last 2, you know, we had, this thing gets tough. You know, I'm gonna throw. I don't know. That'd probably be my top 8. We've had a ton of just kids that could play. I'll tell you this: the Tillers. Taryn Tiller went to play some college ball. August, probably as athletic as any kids I've ever coached. We're just athletes. They weren't necessarily the best basketball players, but man, I don't know if anybody ran faster, jumped higher, played harder than those girls. Bailey Molina, man, she was fun to watch when she was out there. She was, little, was really competitive, handled the ball for us. I'm going to throw my daughter came here, senior Alex Zumbrun. Alex was, when you put strength and speed and, Alex had the best left hand of anybody, I'll tell you that. She'd go left, but strength and speed and overall athleticism, man, I wish she would have played for us 4 years. She just came here her senior year. But ton of kids. Hannah Johns, great career for us, great leader. I could put any of those kids with those starting five, and believe me, we don't drop off.
Yeah.
We had some dudes. I'm not gonna say
in girl terms.
In girl terms, we had we always tell the boys, hey, he's a dude.
Right.
A dude means they can play. It doesn't mean anything more than that. We had some girls that could play.
Yeah.
And so, and man, I'm probably missing a few out there, but those guys come to mind right off the bat.
Sure. Awesome. Coach, thanks for being on. Really appreciate it. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed hearing the top fives for sure. And, I wish you the very best of luck. I hope that we can get that win on Friday against Hobbs and see what we have in the state tournament.
Yeah, hopefully if we can get a win. I believe we're in the state tournament either way. But if we can get the win, it definitely sets us up in a better position. We have the district tournament coming up the week after. We go Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday for the district tournament, and then we'll wait and see what happens with state. So.
Sure. Awesome. Coach, thanks again. Really appreciate you.
Appreciate you,
and
Trey.
Good luck.
Thank you.